Sometimes life is messy. Have you ever wished you could refocus your mind, home, relationships, and work life? Join us as we use research-based information to make practical changes and simplify life. This is Life Simplified.
Welcome to Life Simplified. This is Amanda, your host for the day. Over the next few episodes, we're going to be focusing on ways to thrive instead of survive. We will be using information from Keys to Embracing Age as a reference for most of our topics over the next few weeks. So this insightful program, it was actually developed in partnership by the University of Alabama, the University of Kentucky, and Kansas State University. And so over the course of the program, it explores 12 essential keys designed to help you age gracefully, successfully, and with greater longevity, drawing on the wisdom of centenarians and their lived experiences. So let's get started. Your journey to healthy aging begins now. We're going to be looking at a lot of different things on this episode, but just kind of introducing the topic and kind of discussing why this topic really matters. So I wanted to give a definition of ageism for us to kind of frame what we're doing and what we're talking about. Ageism refers to the stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination towards oneself and others based on age. According to the World Health Organization, children as young as 4 begin to internalize our culture's age stereotypes. I don't know if you all have seen that with your all's kids or grandkids or anything, but when I was going through this, my son, being my son, he was the other day walking through the house and he was like hunched over and he was like, "I'm a grandma." And I was like, I was like, none of your grandparents walk that way? I don't really understand where this is coming from.
I'm a grandma.
Yeah, but he goes to daycare, so I mean, imaginations. But I was like, and he's 3, so I was like, okay, well, here we are.
I love it. My nephew, one time when he was young, I don't remember how old he was, probably 4 or 5, and I was visiting, and I think that I had my hair like wrapped up in a towel. I had had a shower, and so maybe I had pajamas on. I have no idea. But he said, "You look like a grandma," and I was like, "Oh, thanks," because I was quite a bit younger then, and I was like, "Thanks, buddy." Like, why? So I guess maybe something about the way that I was dressed or had my hair pulled back.
I don't know, but it is. I mean, so, we've got some examples of that. It's true. And I also thought we're at the library and they have like a treasure box. And one of the games was Old Maid too.
Oh, yeah.
And you think, and I never thought about that. And I was like, because I remember playing it.
Yeah.
We haven't got into the card game stuff yet, but I was like, oh yeah, so it's everywhere.
And you lose.
And
you
that's
true.
I
never thought about that till right now. Like that makes you lose the game.
Yeah. Well, I also thought, I don't know if the schools around where you all live do this or not, but they'll celebrate 100 days of school.
Yes.
And they dress up, and they'll dress up like they're 100 years old, which I get is all fun and games, but they're dressing up like they're spraying their hair gray and taking canes and glasses and walking hunched over like what your son was doing on my back and all that. And I mean, that sort of perpetuates this idea, and it's encouraged to do that, to participate in that kind of a day. And so I wonder how that's influencing young minds too in the way they view getting older.
Right, exactly. And so it did say that ageism has a negative impact on physical and mental health, and it actually reports to a link with earlier death. So that, just the ageism as general. One study found people with a positive outlook on aging lived a median of 7.5 years longer compared to those who thought negatively. So that's, that kind of, those two studies and that information, and we'll have the links at the end of our show notes, but it just kind of shows that we need to shift our views. Or if you have a negative view, to bring it positive, or maybe help shape our young minds into having positive views about aging.
Yeah, I think mindset is everything in all aspects of our life, but certainly as we think about how we feel about aging as well, our brain is such a powerful tool. We rarely tap into its full potential, but the way we think about things totally affects the way we act and behave and view ourselves. And so if I'm in a negative mindset, things are going to turn out that way. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. So if I can begin to shift the way I view certain things, particularly aging, that can really affect how we feel and how we experience our life as we continue to grow older.
Well, and how many times do we make comments about aging without even thinking about it? Like, in the last week, I can think of multiple instances when my husband and I were both like, man, we're old. Like, this is why we can't do this. We're old. And in the grand scheme of things, no. We have this negative mindset, and I think we don't even realize it sometimes. Like, we're just making comments and joking and all of that and not really even paying attention to what, and I mean, we've said it in front of our daughter, and I mean, she all the time tells me that I'm old. So,
I think we're bombarded with images and messages about how we should feel and view getting older, and it is subconscious. I think it's been around so much, and again, we were probably influenced as we were children and we're growing up, and so we're getting those same or similar messages. And it does, it becomes so a part of you, you don't even realize it's happening.
Now that we've kind of talked about just general ageism and a lot of just kind of sharing our opinions too, we're going to dive a little bit into some myths that you all may have heard, may have not heard. And so we'll talk about them a little bit, and then I'll share some research behind them. And some of these myths and information we're going to talk about, I'm sure the other ladies here will elaborate a little bit more over the next few episodes. So the first myth is physical and mental decline are inevitable. So do you all have any thoughts about this myth?
I definitely think that is a stereotype. And I'm not saying us in this room
culture,
or the listeners or anything like that, but yes, our culture assumes that that's going to happen. And I mean, I think of my grandmother, who I think is one of the smartest people that I know, and she is in her 90s and she is not declining mentally. So I think we put that stereotype out there, but no, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I think we just expect it. I think we were just taught, we should expect that these things are going to become more difficult, or we're not going to be as sharp or reactive as we were at one point. But like you said, in the case of your grandmother, that's not always the case. Does that happen? Yes, sometimes, but sometimes is not all the time.
Right. And I mean, she embraces technology. Not all of it. I mean, I don't embrace all of it. Let's be serious here. I'm not trying to embrace all of the technology, but she knows how to run her Zoom. She can text. She can use her cell phone, and she's still very active with technology.
And I think you all really hit the answer and what some of the studies have shown. So it does. So I'm looking at some research from the National Institute on Health and Aging. And so they talk about cognitive development and that it continues throughout life, and pursuing new interests that stimulate the brain will help improve your memory. And it talked about keeping your mind active, learning new skills will actually build your cognitive reserve, which allows your brain to become more adaptable, which you kind of mentioned, and potentially compensate for age-related memory challenges in the future.
So to speak on that, my dad, sometimes he forgets things. Just been worried about him and concerned about him. And so when he went back to his primary care, he was asking his doctor, like, what can I do to help my memory? And he was talking about far as working puzzles, crossword puzzles and that. So that just goes right along with what you was talking about, Amanda. Now, my mom has worked crossword puzzles for years. Like, she always has them on the table. That's a lot of times since she's been retired, she'll sit at the table, look at her books and work on them. So my mom got my dad one. Well, at first he couldn't do it. Like, he could not sit down and focus enough to understand he had to find these words. And so the other night I was at their house and he was actually sitting down working when I was like, what? Mm-hmm. Because he was very against it at first, but then he understands the importance of using his brain, to be able to do that. So I thought what you just said just hit that, personally.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point. Like you said, your mom had been doing it for years. And so it talked about like doing new things too. So and like your dad's doing the new thing. So maybe she can find something new. So that's a good example on both spectrums, because it talked about, and it's something I tried to do a little bit, but like learning a new language, cooking, photography, meditation actually stimulates your brain. And so just thinking about new ways as we do age, no matter your age, I think is definitely important.
It's interesting that we're talking about this today, because just this morning, my husband and I, during coffee, we were watching something and somebody on the television said, well, have you ever like driven somewhere and you get there and you're like, I don't even remember driving here. And we were talking about it, and I said, yeah, your brain will go into autopilot when you do the same task over and over again. It's like it knows where to go, it knows what to do. You're not really thinking. You're not lighting up your brain in new ways. And so I was telling my husband, like, that's why they tell you should try, like, take a new route to work or to church or to the grocery store, so that you have to really think and you're challenging your brain in a different way. So even just simple everyday tasks, like, don't take your same path. Try a new, different path, because then you have to pay more attention. And so I think anything we do and try to alter just a little bit forces ourselves to think more and to use a different part of the brain.
And so kind of shifting from mental, it did talk about physical as well, which we haven't talked about a whole lot. But it said, with age often comes a decrease in bone density, thus a fear of overexertion leading to injury. Both physical activity can support both physical and your mental health, actually. And so helping to stave off health problems such as obesity, diabetes, and boost your brain, right? So exercise. So it's kind of saying, yes, your bones will, but with exercise and doing different things physically, it can kind of help you with lessen that decrease.
I started a chair yoga class. I started it not only for my community, but I did for myself too. Just being able, since I am older, to start doing things that, will help me build strengthening and that as well. So you never know. Other communities may, have them things going on in their county. So, you just may want to check with your extension office in Kentucky and see if they have one.
Well, and I think a lot of times we think, oh, okay, well, this is all happening. It's harder for me to move, so I'm just going to not. And that's not the answer. We, like Joni mentioned, chair yoga. Chair yoga is great for, if you're not as mobile or if you're not as flexible yet. We'll add that yet in there. And then any type of body weight exercises are great. Any type of movement is better than no movement.
The next myth, sleep disappears with age.
Are we sure that's not true? Just kidding.
Well, I think... Well, for me, I don't sleep at all, but I have young children. So, You know what? Maybe it's a phase thing.
It's a season.
Yes. Right? But so in this, like I referenced earlier, the National Institute on Aging, it talked about older adults need 6 to 7 hours of sleep. So it's not really a lot different than what we are, but it does mention that as you age, how you sleep does change. Mm-hmm. So older adults tend to go to bed earlier and wake up earlier than younger adults. And so the amount of time spent in each type of sleep does decrease. So it talked about, how kind of going back to the different REMs of sleep and things like that. So that does shift a little bit as you age. So your sleep tends to be shorter and lighter, and you may wake up more often during the night. Older adults are more likely to take medications and have medical conditions that can affect your sleep. So I think it's a different, like your sleep patterns change, and then also you may be on medications, which could be at any age too, if you think about it. It may not be just older adults. All right, myth number 3, arthritis and weight gain are unavoidable. Not everyone develops arthritis. Influencing factors are genetics, prior injuries, and obesity, not just aging. So, yes, as you age, you may, but it's linked to these. And it's talked about how your metabolism slows, but weight gain is not just automatic. So, talking about adjusting your diet, including exercise, can help you maintain healthy weights.
And I think we just assume, because we do know that our metabolism is going to change as we get older. Well, let me back up. We're told that when we're young. We may not believe it until it happens, but we don't always change our eating patterns. We don't always continue to move. We don't always adjust our habits based on what our body is going through.
So the last myth, loneliness is the norm. I definitely have heard that before, as you age. And I think it's more maybe when like people retire, they're not out. And that's what I think about just the stereotype in general.
Yeah, I think we definitely have a loneliness epidemic, but I have to say, I know a lot of individuals who retire and then tell me they are busier than they've ever been. They're involved in activities, they're helping with grandchildren, they're volunteering for different organizations, and they're keeping their schedule packed full of things. So I don't think like we just have to say, okay, as I'm getting older, I'm going to be lonelier and no one's going to want to spend time with me and they're going to have their own things going on. I don't necessarily think that is the case. I think it can happen, but I also think loneliness can happen at any age and any stage of your life. So I don't think that loneliness and getting older have to go hand in hand. They can, but they can at any stage. You can be very, very active and busy and connected with other humans no matter what age you're at.
Yeah, exactly. Because it mentioned a study that showed that older adults are actually less likely to be depressed than younger adults, which you talked about. And it talked about encouraging social engagement. Mm-hmm. And so just finding different ways. It mentioned volunteering, classes, community groups, just any way to get connected with different people and energized. So now that we've kind of looked at the myths a little bit and elaborated on those just a tad, some we're going to talk about a little bit more. We do have, like I mentioned, we have links to all these studies and some resources that'll be in the show notes. We're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about something that we can do to age gracefully, and that is positive thinking on aging and when you're aging. So positive thinking has a lot of different positive benefits for individuals as we age. We mentioned this before. It can help improve your mental health, overall well-being, enhance your physical health, just boost resilience, just a ton of things. And so when you think about this, I'm going to go through a list of different things to think about changing and being positive thinking about. So improving our mental health, right? So positive thinking can reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety and promote better mental health well-being in seniors. And I think that applies really to any age, but that's just one thing, is just improving your mental health and positive thinking around that. The next is enhance physical health, which we talked about a little bit. So it's, being engaged in healthier lifestyle choices, exercising more, balancing nutrition. It just leads to overall improving of your health. Increase longevity. Studies have shown that positive thinkers may have a longer lifespan, and we mentioned this compared to negative ones. I mean, I feel like that's repeated multiple times, and I'm not sure if you all are going to touch on that, but I feel like just that benefit alone is enough to try to maybe shift my thoughts on aging to being more positive. Boost resilience, improve cognitive function, and again, stronger social connections. So we have mentioned all these things a little bit, but it's just really reiterating the importance of positive thinking in all these different areas. Let's talk about some strategies for cultivating a positive mindset in aging is what I'm going to say. So creating and maintaining a positive mindset is crucial, right? We've really talked about that. So here's 6 different strategies that can help us do that. Surrounding oneself with positivity, whether it be with friends or family, just uplifting company. So having people that lift you up.
Yeah, so I was like searching through some text messages, and I feel like I've read this before, but it's so like speaks to me, and it speaks to this topic that I wanted to do it again. So my husband will frequently talk about aging in a not positive light, or feeling like, oh, I'm getting old, or whatever that looks like. And so I'm constantly trying to be like, listen, like we are in good health. We have opportunity. Let's enjoy. Let's not harp on what we're fearing for the future. Because I think a lot of ageism just comes out of fearing the future and what that would look like and things. And so I found this, it's not a GIF, it's not a meme, I don't even know. I found it online somewhere, and I sent it to him, and it said, there is a version of yourself 10 years from now that is begging this version of yourself to enjoy where you currently are just a little bit more. And I think if we focus in on what is so good today, what can I do today? What opportunity do I have? What relationships do I have? What experiences am I having and participating in? Instead of worrying so much on what I can't or what I fear coming down the road, just putting yourself in the mindset of I try to tell him all the time, this is the youngest we're ever going to be. Today is the youngest I'm ever going to be for the rest of my life. So what does it matter? Let's enjoy it. Let's embrace it. And I truly, honestly believe that aging is a gift that not everyone is afforded. There are so many people that would love and value the opportunity to age. And so I don't want to look at it negatively. I want to celebrate every birthday with excitement and gratitude, because I know there's someone out there that didn't get that birthday, didn't get that opportunity, didn't get that moment, that experience. I want to feel it all. I want to enjoy it all. I think every different season is beautiful in its own and different way. And so trying to share that as much as you can. We all get in moments. I have moments where I'm like, oh, I feel it too. And I feel the stereotype. But the reality is, at the end of the day, I so appreciate each and every day, and I hope that I have many, many more, and that I can be Ashley's 90-something-year-old grandmother, still just kicking it and learning the new stuff and imparting my wisdom and learning new things all day, every day. And that's a bit of a tangent, I know, but I truly I think sometimes we just have to be reminded how beautiful aging actually is.
I definitely agree with that. And that really flows into the next one, is practicing gratitude. And that really aligns with what you're talking about. And then just a few more: engaging in physical activity, cultivating hobbies and interests. And we talked really about that a lot already. Adapting positive self-talk. And we've really talked about that in other episodes, and just the importance of just building yourself up. Embracing mindfulness practices. That goes back to the meditating, the deep breathing exercises, just kind of helps reduce our anxiety and just increases your overall mindfulness. And that kind of like you mentioned in the gratitude, and just it all flows together. And I think you're all going to see that. And I hope that you all will tune in to our next few episodes over the next few weeks and really dive into this topic with us, because we're working really hard on it, because we mentioned before, it is a stereotype. Our kids are doing it, and we're in the aging age with you all. So we hope that you all embrace it as much as we have. Thank you all so much for joining us, just taking a deeper look into aging and looking at the myths. I hope that you will check us out on our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, we have YouTube. So just any outlets, please share this episode and any other of your favorite episodes that we have here on Life Simplified. We hope that you join us next time. This is Life Simplified.
Thanks for listening to Life Simplified. We are family and consumer sciences agents with the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. Contact us at lifesimplifiedpodcast@gmail.com.